So this is basically what we're coming down to the main principle of link building. So the way Google kind of like revolutionized the world of organic search is that Google started using backlinks as a source of authority. So other search engines before Google came along basically chose to rank pages based on their on-page technical specifications. So, things like the title tags, the content, and Google came up with this idea to make the links that you're getting from other pages a ranking factor and an authority ranking factor. So, say hypothetically, you run a website and your website is new, and I create in the same time the exact same website with similar content, similar topic, and so these two websites are launching at the same day. If after a year the first one is getting 1,000 links coming in from other authoritative websites, that's a very, very strong signal for Google that there must be something about that website that is much better than the other one. So it basically builds your authority, which is a score that Google gives you from let's say from 0 to 100, and the higher up you are on that logarithmic scale, the better your authority is in the eyes of Google. And the way you raise that authority is by getting links from other authoritative websites. So again, a very good example of that would be a page like Wikipedia or the BBC or CNN. These pages are all extremely authoritative. They have very high authority scores. And as you get links from pages with a high authority score, your authority score increases as well. So it's a basic principle of link building that you're looking for genuine pages with a high authority to increase your authority, and your increased authority will help you rank for the phrases that you're optimizing your page for. So it's basically a system that helps you promote your content on Google Organic Search as your authority grows. Okay, so this is a topic that has been quite widely debated very often. There's a lot of people saying that social media signals have an impact on SEO, and others saying that they don't. I think the truth lies somewhere in the middle. I think that having a good presence on on Facebook, on Twitter, is seen as a ranking factor, but it's not seen in a way that every single share or every single like on Facebook is seen as a ranking factor. So creating a presence definitely helps, but getting one link or one like on your Facebook page is not the same as getting a link from another website. So Google sees a good presence on social media as one good ranking factor, but it doesn't sort of like divide it into individual little elements like a single like or a single mention. However, having said that, it goes a little bit beyond the Google search algorithm, obviously, because there is a lot of benefit that you can have from a good social media presence in terms of direct traffic. So when you have a big social media presence, and let's use Facebook as an example, you can obviously get clicks and visits from Facebook if you have a campaign that has gone viral. So it's definitely worth trying that, but there is a certain limit to how much a strong social media presence has on your ranking potential in organic search. But still, it's definitely very much worth investing your time into a strong social media presence, because it can give you clicks and visits from a different source, basically. The way SEO works these days is that there is not a single element of an SEO strategy that is really more important than the other. Obviously, you have your on-page stuff, your technical SEO, you have your content, and you have your backlinks, which are basically the three pillars of SEO in reality. And I would struggle to put a weight on which one of them is more important, because if you don't do a good job on all three of them, your SEO strategy will likely not succeed. However, you can speak a little bit about division of tasks. Obviously, you want to spend a lot of time creating quality content, which will obviously be very good for your search results on Google, and it will also give your target audience the trust needed in order to build your brand. However, if you don't spend time promoting your content and promoting your website, you will then probably start losing opportunities in terms of backlinks, which will then also not help the content that you have on your page to rank, because the more links you get, the better your content ranks. However, if I were to be pressed to make a decision on these two, then I would say focus initially more on building great content. Because if you build great content, links should, in an ideal world, follow automatically. If you write a super comprehensive guide about a certain topic that is really one step above anything else that is available on the web, then the backlinks will follow automatically. Well, if you do it in the reverse order, and if you try to get links, but you don't really have anything interesting to link to, then you'll find that your link building campaign isn't really a success. So the content really is the most important part of it, without diminishing the importance of the other elements. But if pressed, focus on content first. Okay, so comparing site metrics for SEO audits is something that you do when you're basically doing something between an audit and a competitive analysis. So I'll use the backlinks again as an example here. So when you're comparing the metrics of your site to another website, and you find out that that your page is getting 20 links and your competitors are getting 200 links, then you have a pretty clear idea of what's going on. You're basically lacking in authority. So and that will also give you an action point list to approach this problem and remedy your issue. Now, analytics obviously gives you insights on what's going on with the traffic of your page, and I'll try to be very specific here to give you an example on how it can impact and impact your SEO audit. If you see hypothetically that the average time that people are spending on your site is very low, then you can draw conclusions from that. You can tell yourself, okay, well, look, the average site, the average person coming onto a site in my branch is spending 3 minutes on a website, but in my case, the average person only spends 30 seconds on my site. It means that there's something wrong with your content. It means that either your content isn't long enough, or your content isn't interesting enough, or is lacking in some way. And using those type of analytics data to alter your strategy is a really good starting point to audit your website and improve on your future performance. Okay, so when you're doing an SEO audit, there's basically three major tools that you can use. The first one, which is quite important, is a speed test. So Google actually has a page where you can go onto and submit your site and get a score on how quick your site is loading. It's called Page Speed Insights by Google developers. So when you type into Google Google Page Speed Test, the first result you will get is actually that tool that you type in your URL and Google gives you your speed score. If your speed score is very low, you know that you have quite a lot of work to do on the technical front. But it's an excellent place to get started on that technical audit. The second tool that I would use is again SEMrush, because it can tell you what phrases your page is currently ranking for. So it gives you an entire overview of phrases that you're currently ranking for on the search engine, and based on that you can draw conclusions and edit and change your content strategy or edit your content strategy. The third one that I can recommend is actually google.com. Very simple, because the way you can use it is actually by performing a search directive. You type in site : your URL, and when you hit search, it will actually give you an overview of all pages that are indexed by Google at the moment, and you'll see how many pages you have indexed. And hypothetically, if you have a lot of pages up, but the amount of pages that Google has indexed is much lower, then you know that you have some sort of an issue with indexing or crawling. So it's a very simple test you can do, and a very simple way to see if Google is picking up your content in the way it should. Beside those three, you can also use a tool called Screaming Frog SEO Spider. It's basically a third-party tool that you can download, enter your URL, and it will crawl your website in the same way that Google crawls your website, and it will give you results on all the pages on your website. So it will tell you every single title, it will tell you every single description, every single H1, every single URL. And when you analyze this and you see that, for example, you're missing a lot of descriptions or a lot of titles, or some of your titles are duplicate or your titles are too long, that will give you an action point list on what you can do to improve your page. And that's an excellent starting point for an audit as well.